All right. Welcome everybody to the February 23rd Optimize Weekly. Moving over here to the agenda, we have check-ins. So I'll get started with that. I'm feeling much warmer than I was last week, so it's good to be back with power and water and everything. So really, I could not be much happier than I am right now. I'll hand it over to Brandon.
Oh, glad to hear that you have your electricity back. That's pretty important. I actually slept without internet for the past 2 days. Ended up having to buy mobile data and using my phone as a hotspot. Internet finally came back on, so that's great. Super happy about that. Also, the past 2 days have been a little cooler than usual, so that's been nice. Feeling good. Making good progress on milestone deliverables already, so no complaints. On to Larissa.
Things are pretty good here. I moved out of Portland during the ice storm, and I know that my power's back on, and there are still some people in Portland or the outskirts of Portland that don't have power yet, but it seems like most of Portland has recovered. And yeah, that's it for me. Nick.
I'm feeling good. I've lost 5 kilos since Christmas, so I'm very happy about that. And I have also started mapping out some of the information architecture and the jobs that we have within value stream. So like these are artifacts that are really useful for designers to make decisions on where we invest time in the product. So that I'm very happy that we've now got like some of these artifacts. I've had time to create them, and hopefully they'll be useful in helping us to make smarter product choices later on. So happy about that as well. So all in all, pretty good. And let's get started.
Cool. That sounds really cool. So FYIs, which are not verbalized, have a lot of speaker emojis in them. So I guess we should pay extra attention. Looks like an announcement about from Ezekiel about the PSA form. So worth checking out. And next is walking the board. So I will share my screen. And as usual, at the beginning of a milestone, this will not be too an intense board walking, but we can at least take a look at it. So just looking at this priority 1 column, the very first thing here is blocked, which is a little bit strange. Is it blocked by existing value streams? That's in 1310. Okay. Oh, okay, so it's just this one. So we'll just swap the position just so that's clear. Okay, so this is blocking this. That's in dev, that all makes sense. In review, cool. It looks like this one is blocked as well. One of the things I'm trying to do here is figure out if there are any backend blockers to any of this front end work.
Yeah, so that one specifically is blocked by the bulk actions update on the backend.
Okay, cool. Where is that showing up? This thing keeps refreshing. I'm just trying to figure out where that issue is showing up. Okay, cool. Whoop. Oh my goodness. Okay, that wasn't working very well. Anyway, I think we're getting close. There we go. Okay. Cool. And moving over here to priority 2. Looks like we can move this from scheduling to ready for development. Oh, and that one's verification already. Well done, Brandon. So, okay. And at this point, it doesn't look like there's anything else here that's blocked or anything that we need to look at. Is there anything else here that anybody wants to call out?
I just had 2 questions about the table refreshing data for DevOps adoption. I didn't address it to anybody. I just dropped a comment on the issue. Just questions. 2 questions were at what interval we'd like the data to be refreshed, and then just if we'd like that data to refresh indefinitely or just until there is data for the new groups.
And when you say refresh, are we talking about polling?
That's correct, yes.
So I'm wondering, like, are we talking about every 10 seconds or every minute? Like, what's your recommendation?
I haven't really looked at what the standard is yet. I think I literally just posted the question a couple of minutes before the call. So I'm not sure what value we normally use. Yeah, but probably have to look into that and see if I can get a recommendation. Else I'll just be spitballing a number.
Okay, fair enough. Cool, then we can go from there. All right, and then finished walking the board, so handing it over to Larissa for product manager priorities overview.
Yeah, there are no real changes in the immediate priorities. So it's still DevOps adoption at the group level, BSA project level code refactoring, and the DORA metrics. And then just some other things that are a priority for me right now are reviewing all of the direction pages. So Nick got a good set of updates to the BSA page in an MR. We have a few more pages that we also need to update. And the product team, Scott, just updated the overall direction pages a week ago too. So I've just been reading through those to make sure we're all aligned. And then I want to spend some more time on epics and issues for the work that we want to do beyond the next couple of milestones to make sure we have a good run there, and review the maturity epics and link each of our BSA and DevOps reports epics to the maturity epics so that we know when we're done for the next maturity level. Also, I want to spend some time on the tier strategy and just get a really good understanding of what falls into which tiers right now and whether that works for what we want to do over the next 12 months, and any new work coming over the next 12 months, which tier we want those to land in. I've also been doing some collaboration with other teams. So yesterday, Nick and Dan and I met with the release team to talk about DORA metrics and release related metrics. I also put a comment out there for the create team to get some feedback on create features that we want to build into the DevOps adoption table. That's me. Over to Nick. You've got some bonus content.
Yeah, before we actually go into the bonus content, I forgot one thing that would probably be worth discussing is the user-defined custom metrics, and sort of just going into that a little bit, because I think we could have a pretty interesting conversation quickly about that. So let me pull up that's my personal inbox, not my other one. So user-defined.
I saw there was a bunch of feedback on that, but I haven't read through it yet.
Yeah, I was just thinking we can quickly talk through some of this stuff to flesh out some of the ideas, because I think it'll provide some additional useful context, just to have this discussed synchronously. So there we go. Okay, I'll share my screen. So as we know in VSA, a value stream has a number of different stages, taking something from an idea all the way to deployed code into production, so idea to value. And there's a number of steps along the way, which we want to understand a number of dimensions. Primarily, the first dimension we're looking to understand is how much time does it spend within this stage. So, for example, we could have a stage which is plan, we could have a stage which is create, we could have a stage which is review. Knowing how long it takes to plan something, know how long it takes to create something, and how long it takes to review something is very useful, and that's sort of like a generic metric set that we can apply over the top. But then within plan, create, and review, there are specific metrics which are relevant to those stage groups, and will also be more niche or custom metrics may be relevant to those stages as well. So one team within the create stage may use mean time to merge. That's probably quite a popular metric to use. Whereas another team may have something like the number of review comment threads or whatever, like something a little bit more niche, but may be applicable for their specific purpose. So this is something which is outlined by Larissa here, which is how can we provide some of these custom or user-defined metrics for some of these stages. There's some comments on here already, and maybe Dan, you can sort of talk about your comment here to start out with.
Yeah, sure. So basically, I'm just curious if customer feedback that we're getting kind of boils down to like 10 or 12 metrics that we don't already have. And the reason I'm really curious about that and kind of hopeful about that is just because like open-ended, truly custom stuff is just hard. It's hard to build. It's complex and kind of difficult to plan for all the potential ramifications of and that kind of thing. But also because I'm kind of wondering if in this kind of Wild West stage of DevOps metrics that we're still in, kind of as a global DevOps community, like DORA metrics, for example, that's a new thing. That hasn't been around for 20 years. That's just the past couple of years that's rolled out. So part of me kind of wonders if in this kind of Wild West stage where a lot of people, like a lot of the customer interviews we've had, customers have said like, yeah, I'm not really sure what to measure. In that circumstance, I'm wondering if there's some value in us saying like, hey, here's what you should probably be looking at. Here's an array of 10 or 15 different metrics that are available to you in GitLab. And really probably anything outside of that isn't very helpful to you. So I'm wondering if there could be some value in that as well, like kind of deliberately making it closed-ended as a way of guiding people. So anyway, just kind of those two ideas.
Yeah, I definitely don't think it should be open-ended. I think it should be a selection of metrics that a user can choose from, and it's just some restricted customization of their view. So if they're creating their own custom stages, then they would have a selection of like mean time to merge and other metrics like that they can drop into view when they click on a particular stage, is how I was thinking about it. Because I agree with you. Just I don't know how we would go about letting users create any metric they want. I think there would just be too much work on the back end to support that.
Yeah, I think we've learned some valuable lessons from the likes of the generic metrics API and productivity analytics on how we go about iterating on analytics and analytics type pages. And I think primarily what we learned from generic metrics API is all the stuff that we iterate on has to be grounded in like a customer need, which is pretty basic, but like we can't just focus purely on metrics. We need to focus on what is the job that this metric is helping with. And then what we learned from productivity analytics is it's worthwhile to we can go overboard on like the amount of configurations and ways that we slice and dice the data on a very niche area. So like figuring out what is the next sort of big amount of value we can get for like a small thing that we ship is also super useful. So I would tend to agree with, I think, everyone on the call with regards to like limiting what we can present. But I think even before we have the option to have user-defined metrics before stages, I think there are a number of steps that we can take in terms of iterations for things we could do. So for example, we could do something like try and infer from the stages what are the important metrics and just pop those into so if there is a stage that contains an MR, you can probably put in something with mean time to merge or whatever. We could potentially just provide metrics around the default stages that we have. So I think there's a number of steps we can take to test out the metrics in this context before we go into configuring the ones that users want for each stage. I think is the point that I'm trying to make in general.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you, Nick. When I created this issue, this was like a 6 to 12 month out thing to look at. I don't think it's an MVC, and I agree that there are some interim steps that we could take.
Yeah, okay, cool. Just wanted to call that out. So yeah, I think what we could do in the meantime is we actually have a number of these metrics, and we could start just by linking to some of the pages that contain these metrics, and from there we can start. So I started doing this mapping, and this is where the information architecture thing I talked about came on board. So before I jump to the information architecture stuff, does anyone have any other things that they want to talk about with regards to this issue? Cool. So this is where I spent some time on the information architecture. So what I've done is I took the default value stream stages right here, and I have broken down the analytics pages that potentially align to them in terms of the metrics that would be valuable, and highlighted where we have gaps or where we have inconsistencies in terms of the pattern. So right here, I've sort of laid it out as object analytics, object lists and pages, and then stage analytics. So, and then also stuff at the group level versus the project level versus project and group level. So I think the big gap we have right now is we have productivity analytics, which is a particular view, which is really niche. So what I'm proposing is we try and reframe that into create or code analytics in some way, and use that to satisfy some of the metrics that would be required in code and review. And what this diagram is trying to show is once we have the metrics and the objects aligned compared to the default value stream stages, what we can do is start to, from this stage in the value stream view, link to plan analytics or issue analytics or whatever it might be. Let me change that to green because it's not there yet. So yeah, you could link to plan analytics, and from there you could drill down into the actual list of issues or individual issues through issue analytics or issue through your issues list or whatever it may be. And this is where we can start at a minimal level from a value stream view, being able to drill down, understand how metrics are trending at the stage analytics view, and then jump into the individual objects and work with them that way by collaborating with your team, providing comments and so on. So that's how I sort of think about. Right now we have a bunch of pieces together, and right now this is trying to like weave a thread through all of them in order to create this drill down experience, which would be super useful for the directors that we're trying to serve. So does that make sense, or is it still very abstract? Okay, super duper. And what I've also done is started to create a bit of a map of the key jobs to be done that we want to serve within our category. And outline these. So map is, you know, defining the stages, defining what the value stream is and the objects that flow through it. Deliver is the continuous delivery aspect of value stream. Optimize is refining your value stream and continuous improvement. Evaluate is connecting that to business goals and value. And then learn is like starting as a new category. You need to understand what DevOps and value stream is and what's the best way to configure it. So there's a bunch of things that sort of come underneath that. So these are like the big jobs. And then here are the sort of smaller jobs and the potential related features we could be working on. So this right here is like a big map of what we could work on. And this is where we would sort of start to deploy some of these things. So it provides a little bit more context and framing as to where we invest our efforts, which I find super useful. Questions, comments, concerns?
How do we get access to this, Nick?
Right. Oh, it's there. It's right there.
Oh, okay, great. Thank you.
And then finally, direction updates. So yeah, Larissa and I have been working on this. And yeah, previous page was very verbose. And this has just been an exercise in stripping it down to the bare minimum. So people will actually want to read it rather than it being a wall of text. And updating it with our priorities in terms of the personas, the jobs to be done that I just went over there, where we've come from, what we're focusing on next, and some of these sort of items that we'd be focusing on cross stage. We can also strip down, we could probably simplify this competitive landscape a bit because we don't need to have a reference link for each and every competitor, but yeah, this is where we are. So I think we're close to merging this, but if anyone has any comments on the direction, feel free to jump in and chuck in a comment if you see anything interesting. But that's it for me.
The direction page is looking so good. Well done to both of you.
Thank you.
Nick can take most of the credit for that.
Well, it was off the back of all the exercises that we did together. So I just put pen to paper more than anything else.
Thanks, Nick. That's really good stuff. It's really helpful to see some of those ideas visualized like you've done.
No problems.
Awesome.
Cool.
Well, I think that brings us to the end of our agenda for the day. So thanks, everybody. Hope you have a great week. Talk to you soon.